Hello and welcome to a brand new show of Rendezvous with Taj. Built to last is the phrase I would extensively use to capture two great companies of India, Indian Hotels and Tata Steel. Well, what do they have in common? Yes, they are from the Tata Group, but they are over 100 years old. The golden thread which weaves them is the culture. One is a hard B2B business based on efficiency and size. And Indian Hotel is a customer centric business which is always about giving service, quality, some would say at an affordable rate. So, how both these companies have become from unknown to unforgettable? Let's take the conversation forward with Mr. Chhatwal and with Mr. Narendran. Always lovely to come back to Taj Mahal, the hotel we are in, the bridges we cross, the car we use, the house we live in. Everywhere there is steel. Steel touches our life. But today let's talk about the company you represent, Tata Steel. It's a tough business. It's a cyclical business. It's a global interlinked business. But Tata Steel has managed to survive extraordinary cycles. How and why?
Thanks, Nikunj. I think we have a rich history of proving our critics wrong, and I think we've been written off multiple times in more than 100 years, even from when we started. I dare say we were the first Atmanirbharta story, right? But I think the company is strong because of its culture, its people, its commitment, and the fact that we have consistently worked on improving ourselves. We've recalibrated ourselves continuously. We continue to be one of the lowest cost producers of steel, which ensures that we survive in a down cycle. In the up cycle, everyone looks good. It's what you do in the down cycle which matters. And we continue to push our boundaries as far as customer relationships are concerned, products are concerned. We have an emerging B2C business as well, which is today 20% of our revenues. We do a lot of innovative work in the marketplace, and that helps us protect our revenues as much as we could in a cyclical business, while at the same time being brutally focused on our costs and efficiencies so that we continue to be one of the lowest cost producers of steel. We also have a long value chain, which ensures that we can ride the cycles better.
The current quarter is considered to be a slow quarter. Cyclicality kicks in, schools they start, and this is the quarter just before holiday season. So historically the current quarter is always a weak quarter. But the channel checks are indicating that this could be one of the strongest slow quarter you've had.
I think it would be fair to say, if I say on behalf of the industry now, the industry is performing.
You switch very smartly between the
yes.
your company to industry.
So I think the industry is performing at 20% plus pre-COVID 19-20 levels on the top line. And if you've been good in your not like for like growth, which I come to Indian Hotels, then you should be able to do on the top line a bit more than what the average of the industry is doing. And I think we are very, very positive about the outlook, especially this year. And the reason I have a strong belief in the India story, I have a very strong belief that our focus in the last 5 years on growing our India footprint, expanding to more than 100 locations in India, so nobody covers India like we do. If we add homestays to it, it is 125 destinations. And with G20 leadership coming to India as of December for the following 12 months, I think it will give that additional boost. And if anything else was to happen, it will provide a natural hedge. So I think currently the hospitality industry is well positioned.
Christmas, everything is taken care of. How did you react when first time press compared Tata Steel numbers with TCS for the year gone by?
I think that's a good comparison to have, right? I mean, TCS has been a shining star for the group, and for Tata Steel to match TCS, I don't know, when we last did that was a great feeling. But honestly, we are in very different businesses. As part of the same group, we hope TCS continues to do very well. We are in a cyclical business. We have ups and downs. So it's of media interest more than anything else, right?
But nazar lag gayi na, because after that, the export duty came.
Yes, that's true. So
how is that damaged your
Well,
business?
I think that's the unfortunate thing, right? Why should people grudge an industry or a company making profits? Because ultimately, private sector investment in India was being revived by the steel industry. I mean, steel industry had announced more than 100,000 crores of investments. No other private sector industry had announced that kind of investment. So somewhere I feel while there were pressures to deal with the inflationary issues, we respect that. But somewhere I think India should be a big producer of steel. India should be a big exporter of steel. Steel investments happen in some of the poorest parts of the country. We are blessed with iron ore. So this is a classic opportunity to make in India, for India and for the world. So I think it's unfortunate. We appreciate and respect that it has happened, but we hope that it will be removed soon, because China, Japan and Korea together export 150 million tons of steel with no iron ore, with hardly any iron ore. So why should India, which has iron ore, be worried about exporting 10, 15 million tons of steel? So that's a larger issue. So I think, yes, it has obviously hurt the steel companies over the last few months. But I hope that over the next few months and years, this will get...
But despite the duty on export, are you still making positive EBITDA?
Yeah, we are. Like I said, we are one of the lowest cost producers of steel in the world. So we can ride the down cycle well. As we've shown a few years back when steel price was $350, also we made money. So, but the challenge this time has been that coking coal prices have been quite high, and that's 40% of our cost. That's linked to global geopolitical issues. But yes, I think we know how to survive in a down cycle also.
So I'm assuming that the real impact of coking coal advantage will only come for next quarter, because what you're burning in this quarter would be coal bought at higher levels?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's right. Because normally most of the coking coal comes from Australia. So what you buy today comes to you after 2 months. So it helps your costs or hurts your costs 2 months later. So there's a lag. So last quarter's costs will be impacted by what coking coal we bought the quarter before that. And the lower coking coal prices will help us from next quarter.
But an environment like this, Mr. Narendran, which is weakness in the currency or strength in dollar, the tailwind which was China has become an headwind, and Europe is going through a serious energy crisis. From inflation now the fear is recession. So demand somewhere will get challenged.
Yeah. So globally, yes, there is a concern, but I'm a bit more optimistic about Indian demand.
Are you as optimistic as Mr. Chhatwal?
I think I am, but I don't have the advantage that he has with G20. But certainly if the infrastructure investments that the government has announced starts flowing through, it's, I think we'll have a few years of strong demand, because if I look at steel consuming sectors, pretty much everyone is strong. Construction is quite strong, apart from what happens during the monsoon. Supply chain investments in supply chains, warehousing because of e-commerce companies. Passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles are back where they were 4 years back. And if more people travel, more hotels are built, I think that's good for us.
So if the steel cycle is understood to be a commodity cycle, if January and February was the peak, where is the bottom?
So, just to give you a sense, if I look at hot rolled coil prices, right? I mean, that's normally a bellwether. It used to be, it had gone up to about $900, $950.
75,000.
Right? Yeah, right? So today it's about 56,000 if I look at the Indian prices. But we should understand that coking coal prices have gone up to $650, which is higher than the steel prices today, right? So it will always reflect input costs. So we are an industry which is very, very linked to global macroeconomic and geopolitical issues. So that's why we have to respond to what happens there, and that's what we always do.
Mr. Chhatwal, you've increased what is called as the moat around your business. You've expanded when everybody was contracting. You were hiring when others were firing. You've incubated new brands while other brands were in a process of either shutting down or they were consolidating. What have you done in the COVID to increase the moat or perhaps the reach of Indian hotels?
I think some of these ideas were never, imagined that this is what will happen. They have evolved with time. But the digitization is one aspect which has helped us. The second, what has helped us is being a 100-plus-year-old company, we were sitting on a lot of assets. So the idea was, how do you manage your assets that you have in an efficient manner so that they become productive? So we were not only able to increase productivity based on our corporate overhead, which was reduced by almost 30%, adjusted for inflation. But that corporate overhead is today serving a much larger portfolio of hotels and brands. So the efficiency went up. And I think also leveraging partnerships, leveraging other Tata Group companies. We did not get steel for free to build the hotels, but definitely
They are
I think
complaining they don't get rooms for free when they have to travel.
Absolutely. Well said.
so. But I think a lot of Tata Group companies had a lot
He
of
didn't offer
empathy.
anything. So I set up the tone for you, but he didn't offer anything.
Well, we do.
We don't get
time
rooms,
to time,
not rooms for free. We don't get rooms.
which is good situation.
Yeah,
You know, we
absolutely.
were locked down for almost 2 years.
Mr. Chhatwal, when the hotel industry started making a comeback, I'm going to take the, thank you very much. When the hotel industry started making a comeback in 2021, the term media used, thank you, the term media used freely was, it is a sugar rush. This is more like a revenge travel. This is something people were locked up and they're coming out, and this is not going to last. But the trends, and you know, it's very easy to understand hotel industry. You need to go to a website and pretty much know that what the prevailing market trends are. Unlike steel, where you really have to get your hands dirty, in about hotel, you can do dipsticks very fast. The dipsticks are indicating that prices have not come down. So my question to you is that what was called as a revenge travel, a sugar rush, has now become a trend. Is it true if I craft my question this way?
Yeah, I think so that people are traveling more, but I think again we have to give credit to our leadership in the nation. You know, campaigns like Dekho Apna Desh, which we actually took permission from the Ministry of Tourism to come up with a campaign which was Dekho Apna Desh with Taj, that helped to drive domestic demand. And I think what has happened is that people started discovering how nice India can be because of whatever, the travel internationally was not possible, or airports were shut, or people wanted to travel nearby destinations with family, driving themselves. So a lot of new segments have evolved which were not existent in a pre-COVID era. And I think the first time for anybody who had never driven on holidays themselves was a difficult decision. Second time, it was a less difficult decision. Now, all those who have done it, it's a given. Okay, let's get into the car and take an extra day off, or work with a good Wi-Fi connection digitally for one day. You put all your meetings and have an extended weekend is a no-brainer. And this was not happening before. So everyone thought leisure tourism is leading, but the leisure has truly become the pleasure, the business coupled with leisure. So I think a lot of that is happening, but also a lot of nice new destinations. We witnessed ourselves, Rishikesh, then we opened another one near Rishikesh, then we opened Haridwar. I mean, a Pilibhit house in Haridwar is doing rates which, despite my 40 years of experience in hotel business, I never thought it would create that kind of demand. So Darjeeling, when we opened the hotel, the Taj Chia Kutir, it was off to an absolute flying start. So there are a lot of new destinations which we have.
So at higher level, demand and supply is matching.
Demand and supply, no, demand is outpacing supply.
It is still outpacing.
It is still outpacing, and a very little happened on the supply side during COVID. So I think demand will continue to outpace supply. And once we get the benefit of international travelers coming back, and that is usually between October and March, whether it takes a very good start in October or November or Jan, at some point it is going to come back. Plus large MICE, which is meetings, incentives, congresses and events, which have started happening. We had our very big event, Tata Connect in May in Goa. Yeah. And after that, we saw a lot of Tata companies book the same venue, the same hall for their annual business conferences. So I think this is the best in terms of demand is yet to come, and supply will remain constrained. So we can
This is a
expect
multi-year trend according to
this
you.
is a multi-year trend.
Let me paint the big picture for you. Pretty much the global picture. India is the 5th largest economy in the world. We are one amongst the top in terms of the market cap. Now, for an economy of this size and for a sector like steel, it is very, very difficult, or I would say almost impossible, to just be an oasis in an otherwise troubled environment. So right now it's good, it's great that your India business is growing. But steel, after all, is a cyclical commodity. Given how a recessionary fear is around the corner, somewhere don't you think it will have a rub-off effect?
Yeah, it will have an impact. But just like India is an island of economic good news relative to the rest, the steel industry will follow that sentiment, right? So basically what's happening, you see inflation in India is high, but it's still comparable to what's happening in developed countries. Developed countries have never been used to this kind of inflation, right? And these are not growing markets. Even if you look at our footprint in Europe, if you have inflationary pressures on wage costs, in Europe, you have to think hard because the market is not growing. Whereas in India, you can afford some inflationary pressures because you can scale up and manage those costs. So I think there are issues where India is, well placed. Demographically, India is much better placed. What's happening with the COVID and the Ukraine war is supply chains are being rethought. People are looking at building resilience and not just optimizing around efficiency. So great time for India to be an option, because unlike a Vietnam or a Bangladesh or many other countries who are options, India is not just a potential source but a potential market. So people are looking at investing in India to make in India again, for India and for the world. So I think there are many things which make it a sweet spot for India. And like I said, we are an industry very dependent on macroeconomic factors. So we will ride that. 10% of what we produce is exported, 10% of what Tata Steel produces is exported. That part of the business will reflect what's happening globally. The other thing where we think things would be better going ahead is less exports from China, Japan, Korea, because all of them are looking at using steel for their domestic consumption rather than importing raw materials and exporting steel. So that will bring a greater balance into world trade in steel, which is
so
not
what
there
will
for the
happen
last
when
10
China
years.
will open up? 50% of the steel capacity right now looks like it's an endless lockdown, but this endless will open one day.
Absolutely. And also, again, even in the last 10 years, China has been written off multiple times, right? Every time we said the bubble is going to burst, and somehow they've come back. So I know there are challenges now in the property sector, but they're still selling 2.5 million cars a month, right? Which is 8 times or 7 times what India is selling. So ultimately, even if you say China is growing at 3%, it's 6 times India's size, right? So 3% of that size is a lot more than what we realize. So I think we sometimes underestimate the impact China has. And the other thing which is happening is the world is switching towards a greener future. A lot of infrastructure is being built for the green economy. If you look at renewables, if you look at hydrogen, all this, a lot of infrastructure was built for moving coal across the world, right? Today, if you're going to switch from moving coal to moving gas or moving hydrogen or moving electricity, it's a whole lot of infrastructure which needs to get built. So I think there are multiple things happening because of which I continue to be optimistic about the steel industry. That's why I've been in it for 34 years.
Where do you see Tata Steel in 3 years? Where do you see Tata Steel in 5 years? I don't want to go beyond 5 years because ultimately it's a cyclical industry.
No, I think in the last few years we've doubled our footprint in India.
Yeah.
Next few years we want to double our footprint in India again. So
This is the organic route.
Next few years will be organic. Last few years was inorganic. So we grew from 10 million to 20 million in the last 7-8 years. We want to get to 40 million by 2030, but I'm assuming that the export duty will not be there for long because we've always assumed 10-15% will be exported. So 35 to 40 million is certainly
in next
where
5
we have.
years.
Yeah, not next 5 years, by 2030, because it takes a while to build a steel plant. But because of our acquisitions, today we can grow at any pace that we want because we have the sites. We have the sites. We don't have to acquire any new sites to achieve that ambition.
And you can do it on the current balance sheet without raising too
Absolutely.
much of
So
it.
that's the other advantage with organic growth. You can pace yourself. I think the cash flows of the India business are strong enough to allow us to grow without adding to the debt.
Indian Hotel now is part of that elite club, and I call it elite club because in terms of the market cap, it is part It is one amongst the top hotel in the world now. What are your ambitions for Indian hotel in next 3 to 5 years? अब तो अभी cyclical business नहीं है, अब तो structural growth आ रही है.
So I think Nikunj, Taj was rated as world's strongest hotel brand for second year in a row, and among the top brands, twice number one and once number two across all sectors by Brand Finance in India. I think the question is how can we move other brands into this kind of positioning? And Taj is 120 years old. The others are 2 years to like 20 years old. That's one. Second is I think very important, take a leading position on the global hospitality front. See, India has done very well in the tech sector. India has done very well during COVID in the healthcare sector and created the vaccine. I see no reason why we cannot be the number one in the hospitality sector, hospitality made in India. And all our brands are doing well, and we have a very good opportunity to make a mark, not just in India, but across the world. And within that, Taj is very well positioned because of its presence in London, because of its presence overlooking the Central Park in New York, San Francisco, Cape Town, Dubai. Already 3 hotels in Dubai, the 4th one opening, Maldives, and you name it. So I think we will try to now aim for higher without losing sight and focus on the domestic market. We want the domestic business never to be less than 80% of the total business and of the total revenue. Ideally, as it should be, as it is today, more like 83 to 85%. It all depends with the fluctuations in the currencies. So, but if we can keep 80% domestic, 20% international, grow in select markets, keep our Indian ethos, the culture of Taj, what it stands for, trust, awareness and joy, I see no reason why we should not emerge as the top 5 hotel companies in the world, not by scale, but because of the culture, because of the value that we deliver, and because of the respect that we have earned from all the stakeholders.
It's a great point, but I'll be specific and if I insist on numbers, and I'm going to use the example of TCS. When TCS went public, it was large, but it was not the biggest IT service company in India. Now it's there, right up there, both in terms of profit and market cap, just a notch above Accenture. So if Indian hotel has to become part of top 5, are you thinking on those lines? Has the boardroom chatter started? Are you planning this organization to become that large, given that you're debt-free now, business has come back, you've added technology?
No, I did say not on scale, but if you took...
Is it possible for you to
It is already there. If you looked at the market cap per room in operation or including the one in portfolio, we are already among the top 3.
Okay.
So that's why I said delivering the value, not necessarily dots on the map. That's a different business in which you want to franchise your brands across the world. We are not there as yet. It's not a part of our strategy. Our strategy is very well articulated in the document called Ahvaan 2025. We want to be 300 plus hotels, 500 plus homestays, having a GMV of a significant amount in the new businesses that we are doing, and known for innovation in food and beverage, in new concepts, in using digital to drive our businesses for the future. So as per value per room, we are already among the top 3.
I'll wrap it up with perhaps few personal questions. What's the first thing, Mr. Narendran, you do when you get up in the morning?
I go for a run.
And what's the last thing you do before you sleep?
I call my family in Europe.
Yeah. How many emails in a day do you answer?
Around 80 to 90.
And how many emails do you answer?
Maybe 30, 40. I answer. I'm not saying how many I get. Because a lot of them, honestly, can be handled by somebody else.
Which is one Indian hotel property you always like? And if given an option, you would like to switch off your phone and you'd like to stay there for maybe a week?
I think most of them. I have most of them. Of course, the Palace Hotels or even the Taj here or the Falaknama in Hyderabad. 2 weekends back, I was at Udaipur Lake Palace. It's incredible. I was also at his Andaman's property in December, Havelock Island. I think wonderful. But of course, St. James Court is also a great place to spend a few days in London. So all the properties are great. I think it's wonderful to go there.
And you know, the minute we think of Taj, it is always joy, experience, and the iconic brand. The minute I say Tata Steel, what comes to your mind?
My pending visit to Jamshedpur and my request to Narendran whenever he is going there to take me along.
I thought you'll make a pitch for discount or maybe some hotel room discount or some discount on steel.
No, it's not the right timing in the cycle because I would not like to reciprocate.
That's what I said. I need his discounts more than he needs mine.
Well, it's the whole experience which really matters. In Taj, enjoying a cup of coffee with Mr. Chhatwal and Narendran, I think it's been a wonderful experience. Experience and joy, that is what this show is all about. So thank you for joining us on Rendezvous with Taj.
Thank you.
Thank you
Nikunj.
for having
Thanks.
us, Nikunj.